Hi, welcome to Just Paint It. I'm Christina Watts, your host, a professional artist living in Prince George, BC. And today I'm going to show you how to paint a nice winter scene on a panel. Now, I love these panels because they're so slim and you can get a standard frame, pop the glass out, pop the panel in, and you're done. So let's dive into our palette. Today we have titanium white, azo yellow, 3 different kinds of blues, a purple, a burnt orange, and a dark color. This is a burnt umber, but I may also add black. So to begin with, I've got my large flat brush. I'm just gonna dip it in some water over here just to dampen it some so that these paints move a little bit, because they are heavy body paints and they might need just a little bit of help. Now, as usual, I do like to start with white. So I'm going to go ahead and just slap some white on here. Now, sometimes I prime these panels and sometimes I don't. It depends on the scene that I'm doing. And I like the natural kind of tone that this panel has. So these you can get at a hardware store, or if you want a professional artist grade, go ahead and pick them up at your art store. So in today's scene, we're going to do a sky, and then we are going to put in some mountains, and then we're going to put in some snowy trees, and just a nice little winter type of scene, just because why not? It's out there, it's beautiful. We're going to make a bit of a sunset in the sky, and then we're going to work our way down. Now, what I like to do is I like to do the sky first and then work my way down, because it's the farthest thing off in the distance, and then work into the closer objects. Now I'm taking some of this yellow on my brush, and I'm going to add again a little bit more water. Just move my water bin closer here. And I'm going to say that the light from the sun is going right over top of this white, and it's coming up over here. And I'm just doing slight little crisscrosses with my brush. Okay, I'm not trying to over blend it. I'm just really adding that light in there. Go back into your white if you want, and continue to cover your panel board. And then we're gonna bring it right over to the edge here. So yesterday I was out walking my dog, and the sunrise was just gorgeous. It was coming up over the hillside, and I saw these amazing colors, and I thought, that is what I'm gonna paint for you today. Now, the glorious part about living in the north is that we have these tremendous scenes that we get right outside our back door, and they're full of different colors. So because we have the snow, we have a lot of blue hues, we have a lot of just light bouncing around. Now, I have to be a little bit careful on my next color, which is going to be my burnt orange here, because I just want to kind of slip it in and around that light. Now, the reason why I take the orange next is because it's just kind of a rusty looking red, and it will play nice beside the yellow without it turning into like another color, right? So it's going to be, if I hit the yellow, it's going to maybe turn a little lighter orange. And then when I work into some blues, it's going to turn a little bit purple, and that's what I like. Now, I did touch into some of this yellow just to cut into it, and the reason why I did that is because otherwise I'd have an orb, and I don't want a round circular orb. I'm trying to make this organic. Okay, and then I will jump into my white again. Now, this board's jumping around a bit, so I'm just going to hold it so you don't hear that banging noise, and work a little bit quicker along the top. Now, one thing you might have noticed is that I'm also painting off of a panel today. And I thought it would be fun to do that, because what's going to happen is I'm going to have paints on this panel, and I'm just going to mush them around at the end. I'm going to let them dry. Maybe I'll make some textures with that leftover paint so it doesn't go to waste. And then I will create another painting on top of that. And sometimes when you start with a piece that already has paint on it, it's not so daunting. It's not a blank canvas that you're starting with, so that works well. Okay, as I work my way over, and I will touch some of this up a bit more, I'm going to jump into my next color, which will be This blue, kind of an in-between blue. I have magnesium, I have ultramarine. This is a cobalt. And I'm gonna put this right beside the red here, because I know that this is gonna go a little darker, right? This burnt orange, which is pretty red, more of a natural color, is gonna turn a little darker when it hits that. And I'm okay with that. Now, because I did it on that side, I should also bring it in here and start vignetting this sunrise that we have. Now, it's gonna look bad before it looks good. So don't worry if, you know, you're seeing it and it's not looking the way you want to when you're painting this. It eventually comes together. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more red now. And I'm really just doing a process of going dark, and then I'll pull it into the lights again. But I'm putting mountains down below, so I have to have a sky that has some contrast. Gonna dampen my brush a little bit. That will help these heavy bodies stay a little bit more softer. Give me a little bit more working time here. Now, it's always fun when you do these scenes, because every scene is just like a little bit different from the last, and you learn so much from each piece that you do. Okay, adding the blue. You can see when it touches that orange, it's giving me that dark gray, that kind of dark purple gray, and that's great. That's what I want here. Okay, so we got some really good color down. Gonna rinse my brush off a bit because I'm going back to white and I'm gonna blend this out. Watch that my paints here don't slide off. Okay, back into our heavy body white, damp brush. And we are going to be quick and we are going to crisscross. Gain this side, be quick, crisscross. You have to be very careful because you could make this muddy real easy. And we do still have an orb going here, so I am cognizant of that. I'm gonna cut into some of that. I'm gonna adjust this over here. Now, because I didn't use black, I am gonna still get some very nice colors out of this when I put that white on there. These scenes are really kind of fun to paint, and you have to really work according to how your paints are drying and how, you know, how wet they are to work with them. Crisscross over here. Okay, and then back into that center orb. Clean off your brush because you don't want that yellow to be dirty again. Okay, a little bit water into my yellow because this is real thick, this one. I'm going to double load my brush, yellow and white, because why do more work if you don't have to? Okay, now I'm going to be very gentle with my brush and I'm going to start twisting it. If I get a little gray on it, I'm going to try to clean it and then cover that up. Again, double loading the brush, yellow and white. Cutting over here, cutting over there, because remember, we want this sunrise to pull out, right? I want it to pull through these colors. And we're gonna pull some rays out too. So I love sun rays. And I think a lot of people do too. So again, cleaned off my brush, it was a little damp, right into the yellow, double load it with the white. Gonna push that canvas over, hold it a little bit because it gets a little tricky, right, when you're pulling out the sun rays. Not too worried that I got some darks in the middle. Not too worried about that. Now, the one thing that happens when people pull sun rays out is they pull them out and they're not organic. So just get in, get out. Add some more white. right? We've got this kind of blasting through here. More white. Got some gray on the middle. Not worried about that. Can brush that out. Now I'm going white and my burnt orange. Okay, so you can see it on my panel here. Beautiful color. Just knock it back, knock it around a bit with that white. And we need to add that in too. Now I have more of that red up top, so this is where I'm trying to add that color. Have that block here. I'm gonna just adjust that with another little switch of my flat brush here. So if you find that you're just using one edge and you're pulling the whole way and it's the same stroke all the way around, twist your brush. Twist and get a different side of that to pull from. Okay, now I'm looking to balance. So I have a pretty good chunk of yellow here. I have, you know, some red around here. I need to adjust to include some of these other colors. So pull, very gentle. I'm hardly touching the canvas. Okay, a lot of red on that side. Starting to look a little bit demonic here, but we're gonna pull it back. White. Okay, now we have some white. And this really, you just have to keep working at this. Layer up your paints, keep going, right? We did nice horizontal background and now we're trying to adjust here. Okay, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of white on my brush. And we're just gonna give a few different brush strokes in here. Otherwise, it won't look right. Okay, so here I am again, crisscrossing it out. A little white on here, because remember, this acrylic's gonna dry dark, so what you wanna do is make sure that you are painting it lighter so that when it does dry dark, you won't be unhappy with it. It's gonna be 20% darker. A little bit of yellow in there because of that dark. Pulling that out. Back to white. Try not to make an orb, right? So I'm very cognizant of breaking this up now. Okay, I'm just going to take a step back because I am getting some good light coming off of this, but I have to remember that I need to pull it out a lot further than what it's at. And for that, I am just going to dampen my brush, clean it off. It is still got some of that paint on here, and just making some long strokes all the way in and out. Now, if you like it where it's just hitting the canvas and leaving those interesting marks on there, great, then your job's done. If you want it smoother, then you're gonna have to use paint and go over it. Today, I'm really just interested in, you know, that long stroke and how it hits the canvas and how these whites just sort of pick up off of that dark. I'm not too worried down here because I am gonna put some mountains in, right? So really just thinking about how far this light needs to go. Dampening the brush, making sure that if I get it dirty, then I'm gonna clean it off and I'm gonna go back. Okay, if you find your paint is starting to rip off your canvas, it's dry and you're really gonna have to be careful. And I can see that a little bit of it's ripping here. So I am gonna dampen my brush again. Make sure it's okay, not a bunch of water on there. I'm gonna soften that. Okay, so we're gonna stand back here. I can see this little block of red is kind of bugging me a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw in, cut in a little bit of more yellow there. Pull it out, get in, get out. And then balance. So you're looking for balance at this point. I've got good light over here. I want to put some more of that darker yellow coming in here. And we have pink here with that burnt orange. Because of the mix, it's looking like a great pink. And then because these are looking like a little bit of clouds, I'm putting all the white, the red, the yellow, all on my brush. And let's see, I'm gonna see about pulling some clouds. So I'm really just hitting the brush down on here and pushing down and letting that color come off. And using a horizontal shape for the clouds that come out of here, because we often want to just paint a circular cloud, but at the end of the day, that they're not really circular. They kind of have a base to them. There's an atmosphere that is underneath. So think about that when you're adjusting for some cloudage. And because you've got this coming out, you make some of these a little bit bigger than the other bits, and that'll work out for you. Okay, again, triple loading my brush, white, red, sorry, burnt orange. I'll keep referring this to red because it's looking like red on my palette here. And I'm gonna jump over to the other side. I like how this has gone an even deeper kind of reddish yellow orange there for these bits. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So what's interesting about me painting today is I actually, and I'm getting this worked out right now, but I lost vision in my left eye. So what you're seeing today is a one-eyed painting, and it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how, you have a different perspective when it's just the one eye. I really love how I grabbed the gray there and I pulled it into those clouds. So if I have any wet paint on this side, I'm going to do the same. And up top too. A little bit of atmosphere up top, right? A little bit of atmosphere. I keep saying that, but it just really, that's what it is. That glorious, glorious, glorious colors that cut in here. Okay, scumbling, just lightly putting some of that paint on the canvas, just letting it touch this brush. There's hardly any paint on my brush, so it's just giving me these perfect little marks. And just like that, you have a pretty good sunset, or sunrise. We'll go with sunrise. Okay. So when you're painting, a lot of painters, what they'll do is they'll squint, and that's just to see blocks of colors. So, today perhaps this one-eyed vision that I have is going to work in my favor. All right, so that's good enough for the sunrise part. I may make a couple adjustments as I go here if I see a block that I need to break up, and what I mean by that is looking, not organic or just needs a little adjustment. I'm going to move down below into my mountains, and that'll be fun. So we're using still the big flat brush. I'm going right into the white because these are snowy mountains, and we're gonna cut along here. Now, as long as you're painting anything other than this with peaks, I will be happy for you. It will work out. What you want to do with your mountains is you want to just think about them coming up higher on one side, and I'm using that flatness of my brush to, run some peaks in here. I'm gonna decide whereabouts the sunrise is gonna come up on these mountains, right? So I don't want all my peaks to be the same height, although sometimes when you're looking at mountains, they certainly seem that way. I'm trying to consider how to make them different by utilizing their height, their widths, You know, maybe drink too much coffee and wiggle out a ridge. I'm also making sure to paint in the direction that a mountain would go, right? So even though I'm going across horizontally, I'm pulling those paints, textures down along where the ridges might go if you were to follow them. Okay, and then I think about there, here. And then I'm gonna run this across this way. Just a bit. Now, if you want, you could have gone with a silhouette of a mountain. You could have used dark color here. But remember, this is going to go, this paint up here is going to go dark, and then you're going to lose some of that silhouette. One time I painted a big giant painting, and it was of Sun Peaks, and that was really fun. It was a ski hill. And it was, I think, like 4 feet tall by 3 feet wide or something. No, it was 4 feet wide by 3 feet tall. It was a good one. It's actually in an Airbnb there, right to this day. So those mountain scenes, they're beloved. People enjoy them. And it's, we live in this winter wonderland, so why not enjoy it? I will put, I think, a little tree line in here because we do have tree lines. It's not just it's not the Arctic. We don't live in the Arctic, so we're gonna put some tree lines in. But for now, I need to throw in a little bit of blue, and I have a little bit of purple here. So I've used ultramarine blue, and I've used a violet purple. Just mixing those two together because we do want some ridges. I'm gonna throw a little bit of that burnt orange in here too, a bit of that, and a little touch of the burnt umber. That's that really thick dark brown here. And the reason why I did those colors is because they make for a great shadow color in the mountains. Okay, so now I'm gonna actually, now I've got this mixed up, I'm gonna jump to my palette knife because that is the best way to paint the rest of these mountains here. So I am grabbing my palette knife and I'm gonna dive in here. I'm gonna go with a little bit of the white. I'm gonna get into that mix that I made here. I have double loaded my knife. And now I'm just gonna kind of start to come into these areas where I started painting and adding a little bit of that color. I will adjust as I go here. The more paint, the better. I always feel like when you're doing a palette knife job, work on a piece, you really want to just cut in and give the textures and just really make a nice big bunch of paint on here. Now I've got just burnt umber and the white on my knife because I'm going a little darker on this side. You can definitely see where the brown on its own is just not enough. So add your purple, add your blue. Add that burnt brown, add a little bit of burnt orange. These are going to echo the sunrise. So cut down here. I love how paintings just seem to come together. You know, and if your painting is not coming together, keep going. It's just paint. You will make more paint and you can just paint over top. Now, the way I use my knife is very, very gentle. I'm hardly touching this canvas. I'm gonna go a little bit darker here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and throw black on my palette because, and I rarely do this, but I'm gonna do this because I really just want some more contrast in that mountain, in those peaks. So I have black now, and I'm just getting it ever so slightly on my palette knife. And now I'm gonna just throw it in here. Now you can see where that black is just adding to the brown. It's gonna give it way more depth. Okay. And I'm cutting in and down from these, right? So I'm not in my head, this is how I'm thinking. In my head, I'm not thinking the ridge should go here. I am only thinking about putting that color on here in a manner that makes it look like you know, there's something going on in this mountain, and it's just an unusual shape, because that's what mountains are full of. They're just full of these unusual shapes. It's not a square, it's not a circle, typically not a triangle. Okay, and the knife just gives that texture. I love that texture. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add some white here. So really, this has got all kinds of color on my knife. And now I'm gonna consider, okay, how do I want some of these peaks and these ridges at the very top, and cut those down and in. Okay, and then if you want, you can even pull some white through like it's on its own here. I just can't get enough of this texture that a big blob of paint will give you. And as you can see, my ridges are coming down, okay? So I don't have them going horizontal, they're coming down. Jump over to this side and pull that over here. And make some more texture as we work our way down our canvas. You can certainly see how, we've gone from thing that's the furthest away, and we're going to work into a winter forest, and then we're going to work into like a snowy walked-in area, perhaps a few trees. You want that, just want a nice balance. These big trees off in the distance, and big mountains. And lots of texture. Just makes a painting so rich. Also costs a lot more money, because you're going to spend more money on paint. But it is definitely worth it. It is effective. Okay. I'm just going to think about these sides here and quickly bring that paint down here. When you're using a palette knife, think about how you kind of butter toast, but butter toast like it's a wand instead, right? The feel of it is like buttering. But the whole hand holding on your palette knife is much more like a wand, and I'm hardly holding this. Like if I slipped with one of these fingers, this would fall right out of my hands. That's how light I hold my palette knife. And it will come down. Everybody has a different weight to their hand. Everybody has a different stroke to their hand. And it's just really interesting when people paint, because it becomes a signature of theirs. All of these things, that's why they can tell who painted what. If they're a well-known painter, they can figure that out. A little bit of dark over here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into my little filbert brush. It's a little round brush that I have here. And we're going to put in some trees. So, this guy, actually I'll get a little bigger one here. Yeah, this will get the job done just a little bit quicker. So, I'm gonna go ahead and just dampen that brush. And again, I dampen the brush solely so that the paint can flow a little bit better off of it. And we're gonna do a tree line, but yeah, we're gonna do the tree line, we gotta put snow on top of it later. And so what I'm gonna use for that is my burnt umber. I'm gonna mix that up over here, adding some of that ultramarine blue. I do want a little bit more coolness to this, so I'm gonna dive into that. It's a magnesium blue. And a little bit of black. Like you can just see how the blue on the brown with the black is just like, so good. I'm not entirely mixing this up, okay? So don't over mix these colors, let them shine within the mixture itself, and you'll be better off for it. All right, so we're gonna tackle these trees off in the distance, and we're just gonna start using the edge of the brush to scrub some of this in, okay? So as you can see, I'm going up and over top of that blue, the white, and I am running this in at a side. Because my brush is rounded at the top, I'm already getting some nice tips on the trees. And because I didn't over mix my colors, I'm getting good variation of colors right out of the gate. Okay, so I'm gonna run a tree line about here. I think I'll run it right about here, and then it'll have a bit of a valley going in. And the reason why I'm off centering that is just so that when you're looking at a painting, the eye will flow through the field and through the tree line up into the mountains and then to the really nice sunrise that we have here. So scrub these guys in. Just as easy as that. It's amazing what the impersonation of trees will do for your eyes. A lot of people are always amazed at how a tree line is just so, you know, done. Like it's there, it's ready for you. Okay, grabbing that paint again. I may have to start adding some more colors here. Blue, the ultramarine blue, little touch of magnesium blue, a little bit of burnt umber. The black is still in there. I'm gonna leave it. And what's interesting is, doesn't this look like a dark green, right? And I didn't use green. I didn't even use yellow. Come over to the side here. Actually, I'm gonna shift my body because my strokes need to go this way and my eye works better this way. So here we go. Okay, and I gotta remember that I was gonna leave a section open here. A little bit of burnt umber. Touch of black now. Touch of black. I'm looking to cover up the board. Now, now part of the reason why I did not prime this board is because I knew I was going to use some pretty thick paint, and I still like the undertone of that wood. Now, if you go in and get these panels, like I said, you can go to the hardware store. You can get them to cut you down a big sheet of 1/8 MDF board, or you can go to the artist shops and get artist grade panels in various colors. So not just in the neutral tones here, but also white, also gray. They make lots of different ones. And the reason why you might get a toned gray board is just so you can see your colors pop. Okay, I painted a really nice dark wall over at Studio 2880 the other day, and it's their featured gallery wall. And what I've noticed having that dark, warm gray background for paintings is that it really pops the color. Like, it just makes everything so much more rich. So using a gray or a black undertone can make your colors really pop. Okay, so really kind of coming through here. I had a bunch of strokes kind of curving this way, so just adjusting some of those. And I'm gonna jump over here, back here again. Now adding just a touch of color down in here. I am going to put the snow in now, so I'm going to rinse my brush off here. Just leave it in the water. Going to get myself a new, let's see, I'll go with a bigger filbert. Yes. So this one here is just another half rounded brush. Going to dampen that, and I'm going to go into the white here. Trying to keep it clean, might not work out entirely. And then I'm gonna just cut in here along these tree lines and just throw some snow in. I could have used my big flat brush too, would have been similar. And I'm just really looking to slam in this color. So lots of blue, sorry, lots of white, and I'll put some blue on here. And I'm gonna go ahead and add some more of this white to my palette because I am clearly gonna need a lot more here. And I keep getting it dirty, so let's add that on. Scoop it right out, dump it on your palette. I often put too much paint on my palette, and I've just learned that I either try to keep it clean and put it back in the containers, or make a texture piece out of it. Okay, I am happy about this color mixing into my white as I go about my field here. Now you might say, oh, oftentimes what's in the field and as it's snow could reflect the sunrise. So if you want to, you certainly can add a little bit of that color in. So I would do so very gently because it could really take over this white here. So I'm just being very careful on my little side plate to not go too crazy with this. Yeah, see, you can really, we'll just give it a nice little undertone here. A little bit yellow. A lot of yellow, apparently. And carry it all the way over. Now you can see I've made a few errors here, and that's okay. I'm not worried about it. I am not worried about it. That is just the way it works with painting. See? Now it's never happened. Carry this down. Trying to work a little quick because I know it can be a little bit boring when somebody is just painting something straight across. I am not crisscrossing. I am just using very, long horizontal strokes here with my brush. Again, you could have used a flat brush, doesn't matter which for this part. And because we have snow, so here's the thing with snow, it has little grooves and bumps with blues in them, and that's kind of the shadow parts to the snow. So I'm gonna add those in. I'm gonna use ultramarine blue. I'm gonna also use cobalt blue. And a little touch of purple because that's good too. That's a nice little touch of color there. And now I'm gonna really boldly add some blue in here, just in a few spots, because I'm gonna go back over this with white and we're gonna really make some of this work out here for us. Okay, we'll go a little bit darker, moving out, little purples here. There's a really great artist, Micheline Snively, who does beautiful oil landscapes, and she does remarkable shadows in her snow. If you get a chance to check her out, I would definitely look at her work and really appreciate the depth that she gets in hers. I'm doing a nice little quick painting here, and this will show you kind of the idea of it, and then you can take your time with it. But we have about 45 minutes to an hour here today, and this is a painting that you can certainly do in that time. Now I've got my brush, trying to clean off some of that blue. Not too worried about how clean the brush is because I didn't dive it into my water, but I'm gonna now jump into some white and we're gonna work out some of this. So now what I'm doing is I'm really just sort of dabbing and moving, using that tip of the brush to move some of this color around. And then I will jump into my palette knife, okay? Now I'm adding paint on here so that my palette knife has something to move around and I don't have to constantly dive it into my paints, because I'll, like the mountains, we're gonna do some work with the snow down below. Now, if you are somebody that doesn't like loose work, you could do this with your brush. I like loose work, I like it quick, and a palette knife allows me to get away with that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'll leave that in my water bin and get my palette knife, just cleaning it off a bit. Okay, so here we go. Now we have white. I'm gonna put a little bit of blue, get rid of some of it. Very, very thin amount of paint on here because, like I said, we have them already on the canvas. We've got this here to move around. And now I am really considering going lengthwise across the canvas and horizontal strokes. I'm going to add just a touch of the black here and the blue. And it's just such a slight touch. I'm actually not getting this one down as flat as I want it. I'm just going to jump to a different flat one. That could have a curve in it now. And sometimes that happens with your palette knives. So just look at your next knife. Okay, I'm going to put that in. We are not making water, so we want this ground to work out here. Although palette knives are really, really great for water. Adding white. This gets tricky when you get down closer to the easel. Hard to just get in there just right. So I'm just gonna bring some of this up, okay? So the snow has fallen on the field and it's touched the grass, and we have some plants that push that snow up for this interesting texture. That's what's happening in my happy little world in this painting. Not too worried about the sides, because that's where I'm really thinking about a tree, another tree, as I bring all this forward. And we have some good shadow depths in the snow. Yeah, I think I like this, I like the where it's going. Using my finger because I'm trying to pull out some of that blue. Be bad, I'll wipe it on my apron because that's handy. The more paint I have built up on my apron, I guess the more professional I look. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, and then I'm just using my finger to swirl some of this in. Okay. Kind of want a little bit of a blueness over here, but I think the only way I'm going to be able to get that back near the end is to wet my finger and just kind of muddy that up a bit. There we go. Okay, now we're going to just tree line, put some more trees over top of that. So let's keep going. Now I am going back into my filbert brush. Cleaned it right off and pulling, I'm going to put a little bit of yellow this time in here. So I've got a little bit of yellow, and the reason for that is because these are very cool colors. They're going to recess into the back, and I just want to warm up the next layer that's coming forward. That will pull itself more into the foreground for you. So that is now why I'm adding some yellow into my ultramarine blue. It's also going to make a green, and also some of this burnt umber to darken it. So we've got this happening on my palette now, and we're going to go ahead and think about where we want our bigger trees to come in. Now I could put another patch of trees that just arrives here and we still have snow here. I'm liking that idea, and so I'm going to start working that up. You can really see now, hey, how this yellow is affecting our trees. Go a little darker, go a little bluer here. And I'm not worried if this falls into those background trees just yet, because we still have to put snow on top. What I am wanting to do is pull some of these taller trees up. And I'm okay if the white comes into it. That will just give us a little bit more diversity of color. You need all the colors to make it look right. Okay, grabbing some more ultramarine blue, little touch of black, back into that yellow mix that we just did. we're gonna pull that in here. So now, here's a good trick. Now, this is where filbert brushes really shine. They shine for clouds, and they definitely shine for trees, right? It's that rounded edge. You may have seen Bob Ross using the fan brush, which is also rounded, but the filbert brush is always a super powerful tool when you're getting into trees and you want to have the branches come down. So up top here on this rather larger tree, you can put more of a tip on that, and all I'm doing is tapping and pushing the brush and zigzagging it down in this sort of a pattern. Just back and forth across the trunk, okay? And just like that. All I'm doing is just pulling down a zigzag and pushing down on my brush as we come down. Okay, these trees that are in the front clearly have more definition. Now, as you can see, picked up some of that white from the bottom, and doesn't that look nice, right? So I'm gonna kind of touch these trees, adding that white over it here too. Now we have kind of like a bit of a skiff of snow or another little pattern to that. It's amazing how simple these trees really are when you just let the brush do the work. As you can see, I also don't choke up on my brush. I'm quite far away from my brush. Using this as a wand, all I'm thinking about here is, I'm gonna put 2 trees there because I messed up. All I'm thinking about is this tree gonna need to be, you know, wider than the next tree? Is gonna need to be taller, right, than the tree beside it? And they should touch. You should always let them touch. Pick up a little bit of white here. I'm gonna add a little white on my brush now. And just my skiff of snow happening on these trees in the front. Okay, I'm just tilting that brush back and forth. Don't want to take away all the contrast from this tree and the mountain, but just enough. Really like that yellow here. I'm going to leave that alone. Okay, so that is your trees on this side. Probably will have to knock this snow back a bit or increase the snow on this one here, but that's something we can touch up in a bit. And then if I did that on that side and I want some more depth over here, I'm going to also put some more trees here. I'm going to make them a little bit more darker blue, less yellow, because I think these will be the closest trees to us, but over here we're going to have shorter ones. They're going to go about there. This is my marker, me marking this placement here. Maybe it's just a little stand of trees in the middle of this field. And now I'm just gonna quickly put my brush in. I actually should switch to a smaller filbert, but I'm kind of cheating here because these are smaller trees and this is gonna give me a broader branch. But that's okay, we'll figure this out. Okay, and wiggle it down. Nice little stand right there. And I'm gonna get some white, and this is actually, because I cheated and I used a bigger brush, this is where I'm going to get my smaller filbert. And we're going to put the snow on there, and that's going to fix those overly broad branches that I just put in. Okay, so I got white on my brush, as you can see that green also mixed in there. That's okay. And we're coming down. Remember, this is just a filbert brush, and you would use it the same way you did the other side, right? You just push it down as you come down in a zigzag pattern. Now, it's often where you don't paint that matters, because this wouldn't look like a branch if I had painted this whole area in. You have to have the dark still show through. Allow your backgrounds to show through. Allow your branches to show through, and you will have a good painting. There, we'll put this over here. And now this side should be darker than that side because this is the sunny side and this is the darker side. So I am wanting to just put in a few black areas here. And I'm gonna pull out a little section here. This will be interesting because I'm just throwing in another like little tree area here, which I hadn't originally planned on, but for some reason I just felt compelled to do this. And you'll find that in your painting too. You know, maybe you do want to go with another little area of trees, and we'll cut in. Maybe these ones are just, I think these ones will be kind of the sticky trees. So not the full pines with the needles and stuff, but these ones will just be some branchy trees, leaf trees that don't have their branches anymore. Or a bush. Tell yourself what you want. It is your painting, and it is your image to play with. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm noticing I want some more contrast now between these trees and these trees in the distance, and the only way I'm gonna get that is if I leave those trees, the darky kind of like a lighter green here, but in the background I'm gonna need to have it darker. So I have black and I have blue, mixing it right up on my palette here. I love blue because it really sets things back. Dark blue, they're great. I keep that darks in your palettes. Okay, and I lost this back here, and I really did not want to lose this, so the only way I'm going to claw it back is by getting it dark again and keeping this side fairly dark. Maybe that little baby tree is way off in the distance. Okay, say that looks pretty good. I'll fix these stick areas here. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump back into our palette brush. Well, it's a palette knife, not a brush. Just mixing it up. It's when you're focused on painting, sometimes the words and the paint are two different things as your mind just really gets into the visuals of it. Okay, and now I am just adding some white in here, like it's just little mounds, some snow drifts. And I'm gonna fix this with my fingers in a little bit. And I'm gonna skiff some of this, like I did in the mountains, up so that it has little sections that are skiffed into the sticks and the trees, and just make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Tiny little bit up here, barely touching the canvas, letting it just fall off the palette knife as I work into it here. And let's see, what are those? This has got a lot going on. That's got some in here. This is where I'm just kind of talking to myself, and I'm thinking about if I need any little special adjustments in here. And I think that's it's looking pretty good. I think one more tree on one side, and then we'll sign off on this one. So just quickly add that other last tree using the yellow because this one's going to be big, and in the foreground here. I'm gonna come up right there and quickly march that one down, marching it down, add some darks. I'm gonna put some white on top too, so it's not the end here. And pull those branches out, just because if you don't, it will look like a weird stick tree. And pull it all the way down to the ground. Okay, and now I'm going to want to grab some of that white, go right over top. There's some snow on this tree, a little skiff of snow. Gonna adjust some of those branches, add a little bit of white right here because that's the base of this tree. Throw my finger into that. Okay, so that is what you can achieve in an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And now we're gonna sign off on this one and grab my little filbert brush and do a little squiggle signature here. Too much paint there. Look, it actually looks like a C this time. I should actually have a different brush to do this, but that's okay. Every little painting has a different little signature. All right, that's what we have here today, and you have yourself an artful day.